Perfect.
Thank you. My name is Anjelica Gonzalez. I'm professor of biomedical engineering at Yale University and co-founder of Aerotherapeutics, where we develop respiratory devices for premature infants. PremiBreathe is our primary medical device that we've developed over the course of a few years. It's a novel respiratory device that's targeted towards premature babies who are experiencing respiratory distress of many kinds. The novelty of this device is that it's an all-in-one device that oxygenates, warms, and humidifies air before it's delivered to the infant through a nasal cannula. In addition, we've incorporated UV sterilization of the water that is used to humidify the air, making sure that it's not viral, bacterial, or fungal contaminated as the air is delivered to these already compromised infants. As you can imagine, this issue of respiratory distress for babies globally is a terrible one. Within the 2 years of Aero's development, our company, in that same period, 3 million babies have died before their first birthday. 30% of those infants are premature and die before the first month of life, within the first month of life. A good fraction of that, the majority in fact, is due to respiratory distress or respiratory illness. Within India alone, we can impact with PremiBreathe 1/7 of each of these mortalities. That means that we can save at least 75,000 babies a year in India alone. As I mentioned, PremiBreathe is an all-in-one device for which we hold international and US patent. PremiBreathe is the first to market for an affordable, humidified, high-flow nasal cannula device, or preemies. In addition, the innovation of self-sterilization and self-cleaning is quite novel. But beyond that, and beyond the opportunity to save lives, what this also does is promotes maternal care. Because PremiBreathe is a nasal cannula that delivers this warm, humidified air, it encourages the baby to breastfeed and kangaroo care from the mother. What this means is that we don't have the pressurized air delivered through CPAP that forms into the baby's abdomen, promoting belly bloat, or the inability of the baby to feed because they feel full from the air pressure. In addition, because we have humidified and warmed air, the nose membrane, the nares, does not dry out the way other devices cause dry out of these membranes. And almost as important, this device is regulated in a way that does not cause over-oxygenation, which causes the blindness associated with too much oxygen delivered to the baby. There are a number of competitors in the field, but PremiBreathe, because of its novelty and because of the development of the new technology we've incorporated, has a lower price to manufacture. It's of equal quality and contains novel components and is of increased mobility as compared to other devices used in this premature infant market. But premature infants aren't the only target for this device. Long-term opportunities lie in adults for home care, including adult sleep apnea, in which we would compete at a lower production price, increased quality, and equal mobility. But even in the hospital, adult COPD could be treated with a device of lower production price, increased quality, and increased mobility. So what does this mean for the market? Well, the premature infant market for respiratory distress and disease is about 1.6 billion. We could capture approximately 20% of this highly fragmented and neglected market. For moving into the adults fields, 9.5 billion and 25 billion are the sizes of those markets. PremiBreathe could capture at least 5% of those markets in adult sleep apnea for hospital and home care, and adult COPD, hospital and home care. Beyond our initial device sales, both home and hospital, we've thought a lot about how Aerotherapeutics could increase our revenue channels. That would include the opportunity to purchase nasal cannulas, UV devices, wicking materials and filters that Aerotherapeutics is developing. In addition, we would like to partner with other companies who are developing oxygen concentrators. These are technologies that have undergone quite a bit of innovation in the last few years without the respiratory device comparators to go along with their development. Bundling is increasingly occurring in the hospital setting. That means there are opportunities to have better and more respiratory devices in home and at hospitals. As I mentioned, Aerotherapeutics has been around for about 2 years now, and we formed a solid team. I myself serve as the inventor and research-focused individual with at least 10 years of experience working on devices. Jameson Langeth is our CEO and co-founder with multiple years as development in biotech and therapeutics. We have board members who serve as clinicians, pediatricians, and regulatory advisors, focusing on FDA and interactions with industry. Our newest development is the inclusion of a clinical research organization that is working with us for product development. This is specifically around design and full-scale manufacturing. To date, Aerotherapeutics has been awarded and obtained $480,000. This has been through grant funding, groups like USAID and the Gates Foundation, and competitions and accelerators. And most recently, this year, we've had a number of wins in our company. First, J Labs, Johnson & Johnson, selected Aerotherapeutics as one of its innovation technologies. This is because we fill a gap that Johnson & Johnson has identified as an unmet need within their portfolio. We've met with the FDA and had our pre-sub-Q meetings identifying an explicit roadmap to 510(k) clearance, indicating no human trials are needed for US approval. And finally, and most recently, we were awarded $150,000 in non-dilutive funds from the Blavatnik Foundation through the Yale Blavatnik Fund. Why now, you may be asking yourself? Well, first off, there are opportunities because of failed technologies in the market to date. Just last month, Philips was ordered to recall a number of their respirators and ventilators, providing a hole in the market for us to enter. In addition, coronavirus or COVID is affecting pediatric patients at younger and younger ages. But now we're reaching a time when unprecedented funds are getting into the healthcare market. Now is the time to invest in healthcare technologies like never before. We have an exit or acquisition strategy in mind, targeting partners like Johnson & Johnson, GE Healthcare, and Medtronic, although Philips, Siemens, and ResMed would also be of interest. Right now, we're considering the use of proceeds of about $750,000 to get us to the next value inflection point. As I mentioned, time is of the essence. So we really need to acquire new devices so that we can move forward with data collection, developing support to create and maintain a sales funnel and a sales team, and move towards mid-scale device manufacture and building our company's infrastructure. Thank you for your time. And as I said, now is a time to invest in healthcare therapeutics. Preemie Breathe is aiming to save lives of babies and moving towards adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Jeff, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you so much. There are other companies out there, as you noted, Rebel EM, there's a bunch of them. Your big claim here is that you're going to be cheaper, which is obviously wonderful for the developing market. How much cheaper? So can you give me an idea of what the price point of this would be and how it would compare to some of the other ones on the market?
Right. So we have the initiation of this project was really with a global health and low middle income focus in mind. So when we were designing and developing the initial device, we were aiming for a $300 or less manufacturer price. And we've gotten into that realm. So what that means is we could sell this device for under $1,000 and still maintain a profit margin. I think what becomes much more interesting is the fact that many of the at-home devices and the hospital-based devices are being sold for multiple thousands of dollars. So if we needed to compete at that level, we could without risking any loss to the company.
So that's awesome, but I'm still concerned about the price point, because if you're going to go to a developing nation, $300 might as well be $5 bazillion for certain people to be able to take home. So I'm just wondering how the picture goes, because price point is your big differentiator, correct?
Well, this all-in-one capacity. So as you may be familiar, most bubble CPAPs have external humidification devices or multiple components for cleaning and sterilizing. This is an all-in-one, and in fact has oxygen mixing as well. So we have some differentiation in that space. But we worked with the ministries of health in Ethiopia and India to ensure that we were working within price points that were reasonable for, again, low and middle income countries. We've also thought a lot about supply and distribution in the global context in these low and middle income countries to ensure that we were within the range. And you're absolutely right. When we think about at-home deliveries, then these would not be supplied by clinics, and we would want to think about partnering in a way that could supply. And I know GE Healthcare and a number of other companies do partnering of this kind.
Thank you. Other, Mitzi?
Yes, thank you so much for your presentation. So I guess I have a couple of questions, and it goes a little bit piggybacks on this previous question. Other than price, is that the reason why you're focusing on an external market outside of the US? Because it seems that we have a huge problem here in the United States with infant mortality and prematurity. And so, and again, our numbers are terrible, to be real honest with you, even related to underdeveloped countries. So do you not see a place for yourself in the market? I'm a little bit fuzzy on what your primary market is and why.
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I could have communicated that more clearly. Yes, we are primarily initially entering the US market in the premature infant market as our initial focus, because just as you indicated, there are as many problems here throughout the US as there are in the global market. So there is plenty of space for us, and we could again capture quite a bit of that market with PremiBreathe.
And if I could just piggyback, so given that, again, that conversation that you just had with Jeff, do you see, how will you be competitive with what's already out there here in the United States then?
Right. So again, one of the primary issues with the most commonly used devices is that they're full mask devices, which prevents, again, the baby being held by the mother, and we know that those are beneficial to the infant, to be held, to be breastfed, and so many of the other aspects of maternal care. So that's one way that we absolutely see that there will be a differentiation between current devices and this device. In addition, there are other aspects of this being a small footprint. It's a quiet machine, so we can see it being at home in a nursery. When an infant is even weaning off of a more invasive ventilator or more invasive event in the hospital, reducing the amount of time that the infant would be in hospital.
Great, thank you very much.